So
willing to learn, as they say. Yeah.
All right, so a couple of weeks ago, it's been a while since you and I have spoken. A couple of weeks ago, we were sitting here, and I'm thinking, my gosh, there's no reason why we don't get to November, and North Carolina is in the top 6 of the college football playoff, and had Duke just stopped Sam Hartman on 4th and 16, Duke might have been, people think I'm nuts, Duke might have been involved in that conversation as well.
No question.
And then it all fell apart. Wes, what happened to North Carolina? That's really more troubling.
I'm not sure that I've had, obviously, the Tar Heels Saturday night in Atlanta against Georgia Tech. And shout out to all the Carolina fans that thought I was homing for Georgia Tech. Really? I am of the belief that Carolina's defensive punch, which has been there, okay? It's not like it's not arrived this year. I think Carolina is a little worn down on that side of the ball, Adam.
Yeah. Well, they couldn't stop Virginia when it counted, nor Georgia Tech when it counted, although Georgia Tech has shown some ability to play offense.
They have, but North Carolina did all the right things on offense to win the game, okay?
Yeah.
But defensively, Cedric Gray, Power Eccles, Kamen Rucker, good bit of that secondary. Some of those guys up front played a lot more football than I think anybody wanted them to Saturday night. Their depth on that side of the ball was troubling because those guys were out there for, 80-some plays that Georgia Tech ran in the game. And when Buster Faulkner found the rhythm and the tempo, the Jackets offensive coordinator with Haynes King, and certainly Dante Smith back in the lineup for the first time in 5 games, all of a sudden Georgia Tech had some momentum. And then the one play you couldn't afford to have happen happened. The throw to Tez Walker and the hit by King and the fumble recovery by KJ Wallace was Carolina's last gasp. If Carolina goes down the field on that possession and scores, I think we have an entirely different landscape for the ending. But that didn't happen. So, when the scenario played itself out that way, Carolina couldn't get the ball back because they couldn't get a stop.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, I hate it for Carolina that it's gone in 2 snaps. Now, I will say this. They play Campbell on Saturday, and then they jump back in with Duke and that kind of thing, right? I will offer you this. Carolina is still in this somehow, but they don't play Louisville, but they need Louisville to lose. They need as many in the 2 column as they can get.
Right.
And Carolina right now, they had the tiebreaker on Miami. Miami's obviously in Raleigh on Saturday. Carolina will be pulling for state then, one of those unique, neighborhood things that happens every once in a while.
Right.
They get Duke. They then get they don't play Virginia Tech this year.
They play Clemson and Virginia Tech's adorable. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Clemson, I can't figure that out either. And
I can.
Well, I can figure it out. It's not pretty, but you can figure it out. Clemson is a victim of its own success. The standard is so damn high.
Clemson needed Louisville's schedule this year.
They did. And Clemson also needs the same thing they needed a year ago and didn't get, and that is they need people who can make plays in the secondary.
There's no difference makers.
From a receiving standpoint.
Yeah. There are no difference makers on the outside.
That's it.
I think Will Shipley is also kind of apt. You say Carolina's defense is worn out. I saw Shipley take so many big hits.
Yeah.
Like, in a way, I don't know if Will Shipley was a legitimate or is a legitimate NFL prospect. But the amount of contact he has had to absorb at Clemson might completely ruin his opportunity to make a living. A really good living playing football. Yeah. What did you make of Dabo's? We're going to play for people who haven't heard it yet.
God.
Dabo did a call-in show. I can't believe that coaches take calls anymore.
I can't either.
I can't believe it.
Well, and I'm going to share something with you. I've been gone 10 years from Georgia Tech, okay? And we almost stopped taking calls in 2011.
Yeah.
My second to last year doing the games. And at that time, there were 6 schools in the ACC that weren't taking calls. Now, I don't think I think Dabo Swinney, of the coaches that still have shows left.
Right.
I'm going to tell you this. I think Dabo Swinney may be one of 3 or less coaches in the ACC that take calls.
Why?
And by the way, he is by far and away nationally in Power 5 of coaches that have won 150 or more games, however many he's won. I mean, Nick Saban takes a call.
He does.
I think.
He does. Nick Saban does take calls, yeah.
I don't know anybody. I don't. Why? And better still, and I will say this and I'm okay with what Dabo said. I want that out front too.
Yeah.
I'm okay with what Dabo said, and here's why, Adam. Any coach in this business right now, with the landscape the way it is, they ought to be able to say whatever they want to say, whenever they want to say it. And you know why? Because it's really hard.
Oh, yeah.
It's really hard, and I don't think the fan, in some cases, has an inkling of how difficult it is just to win the game, let alone run the program. Second part of this is there is a theory building among coaches, Adam, that they have to make their voice heard more now because of what some believe is a bias towards certain aspects of college football right now.
Meaning there's too much of a lean towards the player?
Or certain conferences.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Or certain attitudes and approaches. Now, I've heard people say this is the Dion factor. I've heard people say you can add the Dion thing into it. This is layer after layer after layer after layer of what college football has been through in the last 4 years, in my opinion.
Wes Durham is with us here. First of all, we're going to play like the greatest hits of that Dabo response to Tyler, wherever Tyler was from Spartanburg.
Yeah.
That happened last night. But do you remember?
God, if he could have been from like Fair Play or 96 or Cheraw, Greeleyville, any of my favorite little spots in the road that I've passed through going to play golf at the beach, any of those.
My gosh. It was, first of all, I agree with what your point that Dabo can say that. But the only counter to that is that beefing down is always probably better to be left alone, right? Because that's what I used to argue all the time with my former partner that Phillip Rivers screaming at fans was just a losing proposition. Like, just let it go. But I understand also the human emotion of it. And Dabo started off slow and then worked his way into it, which I appreciate. And it reminded me of Dabo's Steve Spurrier rant from 2011. We're also going to play part of that because you remember Dabo tweet that. The tweet that from Dabo Swinney towards Steve Spurrier was, chef's kiss beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna play both of those coming up in about a half hour because I'm devoting an entire segment to Dabo from last night. But the reason why everybody is so mad is because Dabo went into this season basically insisting that last year was last year, we're back, and everybody bought it. We're preseason number, 8 in the country?
8 or 10, depending on your poll, yeah.
They have a better chance of missing a bowl game than winning 8 games.
That's it.
And part of it is the schedule. And they lost to Duke in the opener. They have lost some games. They probably think, well, we probably should have won. They have Notre Dame this week. They still have to play North Carolina. They're going to South Carolina at the end of the season. This could really get bad for Dabo Swinney.
It could be 5-7.
Yeah. 5-7. Which is remarkable to me. But that's the world. That's the new world of college football. How back is Florida State, Wes? You've seen them.
They're back. They're back.
That was not convincing.
You
didn't convince me just now.
Well, they're back enough that they're going to be in the discussion all the way to the end. Look, they were surgical on Saturday in Winston-Salem. They knew they were better and played like they were better. Now, are they Shade Tree Jones and Raynard Wilson and Andre Wadsworth and, Samari Rolled and all those cats? Adam Good on defense, maybe not that good, but they're pretty. I mean, they're better than Danny Cannell, Florida State. I mean, Warwick Dunn and I were flying together over the weekend back from Nashville after the football game.
What a player.
Yeah, and Warwick Dunn says, look, are you kidding me? They got as many running backs in the stable as we had. They're as good probably in the offensive line as a majority of those teams.
Mm-hmm.
And their quarterback play has been really, really good. And I think they have got the firepower and the defensive mentality to go win the thing. And here's the deal. I think the Big 12, I guess, is still technically alive. I think Washington is the Pac-12's only hope at this point. And I think Michigan and Ohio State are going to knock one another out somehow. And Florida State, if they tend to their knitting, is going to get into the playoff, because I do believe Georgia and Alabama are going to end up on the SEC side, with maybe Ole Miss having a chance or Tennessee having a chance. But at the end of the day, I think Florida State's a top 4 team, and I think Florida State is going to represent the league pretty well in the championship. Now, I will say that I've teed all this up to say that anybody can beat anybody in the landscape of today's college football.
Right.
Anybody. I mean, Cal damn near beat Southern California last week.
Mm-hmm. No, Southern Cal still hasn't figured out the defensive part of this.
Well, okay now. I mean, I don't disagree with that either, but I think that, we are in a time of cataclysmic upsets in college football, and we have to understand that the landscape right now is pretty volatile every Saturday when they play.
This actually would be a pretty good year for the 12-team playoff. I think this could be
it'd be an excellent year. The fist fight would be at the back end of the 12, which is what we're going to have anyway.
Yeah.
But in all reality, I think you're right. I think that in some ways the lines here are going to get cut between 1 and 2s, and I think you'll see that tonight. The one thing, by the way, it's not going to surprise me tonight, is that Georgia's not number 1,
right,
and Florida State's out of the top 4. That will not surprise me either way.
Jerry Palm said Georgia will be number 5.
5?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Where does he think Florida State will be?
I think he had Florida State at 3 or 4.
Okay. And who's won? Ohio State with the 2
Ohio
wins?
State 1, Michigan 2, Florida State 3, and I think he had Washington 4. I think Oregon is still very much in play, and because it's the SEC, I think whoever like Georgia with 1 loss might still get a bid, because the schedule you play only matters if you're not a Georgia or an Alabama. That's the only time it matters. Or Michigan, for that matter. It doesn't matter that you haven't played anybody if you're one of those teams.
Okay. Let me ask you 2 questions then, just as a general daily follower of this. If Georgia loses to 1-loss Alabama and Atlanta in the SEC title, do 2 SEC teams go?
They lose to 1-loss Alabama, so they both end up 12-1. There's a good chance of that, yes. It all depends on how it shakes out. I don't think a 13-0 Florida State team would lose out, and I don't think an undefeated
Michigan or Ohio State would
Washington.
lose out.
I don't think they would lose out.
What would happen to undefeated Washington then?
Then both SEC teams wouldn't go. Then just the champion might go. In that case, but I just don't think Georgia with 1 loss.
Could we get that moment by chance? Could we get a moment where the Pac-12 champion goes ahead of the number 2 SEC team?
Mwah!
The Sankey Entertainment Channel would be fascinating.
Paul Feinbaum's head would explode.
Oh my God, Greenberg! How would Greenberg conduct a show? He might actually have to get somebody from the ACC Network to appear on it.
Well, you might. That's right. Are you? You're not available. You're too big for.
I'm the game caller now. Don't do a show anymore.
They could dig Roddy up.
Roddy would be excellent on that show.
He'd be awesome. What isn't Roddy Jones good at?
Oh, Roddy Jones is good at everything.
I understand.
Looking forward to being in Raleigh on Saturday, by the way.
Good luck. Have fun
Thanks.
with the Wolfpack and the Hurricanes.
We are excited to be there, and I love Carter Finley at night.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't last time I was at Carter Finley at night was I don't want to bring that up to the Wolfpack fans. They might not be very friendly in the parking lot.
Oh, man. All right, Wes.
That was that Chuck Amato team that was going to the Fiesta Bowl. Let me just put it to you that way. It's the last time I was at Carter Finley at night.
Wes Durham, you're the best, man. I appreciate your time.
Take care. Thanks, Adam. Be well. See you soon.